What's good? It's Stormybman, and I'm back with another Stormybman Reacts video. This time we are featuring Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the latest release by Marvel Studios, as James Gunn has finally completed the trilogy for his films through Marvel. This film was highly touted prior to the pandemic, and as things worked out, there were delays, there were behind the scenes things that held this from happening. But I have to say, it has been well worth the wait. The film brings back the familiar cast of Peter Quill along with his cohorts that are Nebula, Gamora, Groot, Rocket, Drax, and Mantis, as they have come to grips with their realities post the snap. And Quill, who was in love with Gamora, is still pining for her because the Gamora that came back in Endgame was not the same Gamora that, of course, that was sacrificed by Thanos. So she has no knowledge of her relationship with Quill because she came from the past. But getting beyond that, and Quill falling into what appears to be alcoholism, the story really moves from he dealing with those circumstances and begins to center around the origins of Rocket. And I have to say that in the first Guardians film, when Rocket spoke about being what he was, which he couldn't identify with what he was, and didn't respond to when people called him what he actually was, he took everything as an insult. But this film draws the experiences of Rocket's world and how he came to be with drama, and it hits home on so many points. There is someone who is responsible for that, and that person, it comes to prominence in this film and is actually the main protagonist in this film. But as we go through the story, you can see where Star-Lord, the leader of the Guardians, is really struggling, and he's not as sharp as he ordinarily would be due to his broken heart and other issues that they've had to deal with as a group and a team. And you can tell that they wanted to leave avenues open for future opportunities with these characters, though this is the third and final segment with this particular group as the Guardians, because the Guardians go on in the comics and various individuals, characters join the team, leave the team, rejoin the team. So we're introduced to so many. There's also a new character that we get a chance to see in the film, and it's kind of interesting. Maria Bakalova is playing Cosmo the space dog, and that character was introduced in the first film as he was in one of the labs that you saw when the Guardians had went to see if they could find out about the Power Stone. But Gamora and her character returns in this film, and I have to say that Zoe Saldana, even in her green makeup, is a beautiful woman and a great actress. She's not given a lot to do with her acting ability in here because there are other aspects of the character that are just not fleshed out, but they show her as distant and the warrior-like being that she was, because in the first film we were told that she was like the deadliest woman in the galaxy. But the real protagonist, the High Evolutionary, is a character that will make you hate him. This character is fleshed out, very popular in the comics, by Chukwudi Iwuji. And man, he puts on a great performance. It seems like Marvel writes their villains as stronger characters sometimes than the heroes themselves, or even or cold characters. But the High Evolutionary is a scary individual, but not like in the sense of Thanos. He brings something to the story that makes you think about politics, really, and world leaders, people who have influences on our society, even when you don't realize it. There are new characters that are introduced, and we get a chance to see them, familiar names from the comics, with their powers being on display and such. And it's very interesting because Will Porter pulls in his first role and first appearance as Adam Warlock. Now, if you've read the comics, you know that Adam Warlock is a key player in Galaxy stories in Marvel. So we can expect to see more of Adam Warlock, I guess, as the future goes on. There's also scenes that are throwbacks in this, where we get to see Rocket and Groot team up in battle again like they did in the first film, with Rocket on top of Groot's shoulder and they're taking on the baddies. Great action. And I have to say, this whole story surrounding Rocket is so heartfelt that you really get a sense of what it is that he's had to deal with. Really tough. And I like what I'm seeing from the new Groot, because he's like ultra powerful and he's big and he's strong. He can get as big as a tall tree, or he can get as thick as the Hulk. Groot is really a great character here, and they've always done a great job with him in the Marvel Universe. One character that I'm concerned that was never properly fleshed out through this series is Drax the Destroyer. In the comics, Drax was a different type of character altogether, a warrior, a killer, a destroyer. Played okay by Dave Bautista in this series. He was always used as comedy relief in this series, and I do believe that there were opportunities for him to be so much more going forward. And in this film, it was pretty much more of the same. And as far as what I can understand, Bautista is glad to be done with this series. He hasn't liked what was going on with Marvel and how his character was handled and everything going back for a long time. So I'm almost of the belief that what he was able to do here, he kind of phoned it in. He was always very jovial in this role, but in this film, even the humor that he tries to put on display is disingenuous, and that's a little bit of my personal critique on that. And I just wish him well as he moves forward in his career onto other things. He doesn't even, go bare-chested anymore, which means that he probably didn't want to get in the shape that it would require for his character Drax the Destroyer, being a muscular being. Now, overall, my thoughts about this film is it's at least tied with the first film as far as how good it is, and it is pretty good. I would give overall Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 4 out of 5 stars, and a great way to wrap up the trilogy. This is Stormybman. Shout out to the mighty. LDBC, and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It'll be worth the while, especially if you've enjoyed the first two films. Peace.